So I'm joined with Monica Whitty, a professor of contemporary media at the University of Leicester. Monica, tell me about your current study about this new form of online scams.
Well, we've been doing a study supported by an ESRC grant, and it's had three main objectives. We've looked at the typology of victims of the online dating romance scam. We've looked at the persuasive techniques that the scammers use, and we've looked at the psychological impact on the victims. Essentially, the scam is an advance fee fraud, a derivative of that, and it's about someone in a different country, usually to the victim, creating a fake profile, stolen photograph, making up details about this fake person. They contact that person and they get very intimate with them online very quickly. They say that they want an exclusive relationship. And then as time goes on, we call it a grooming process. They become close enough that the scammer tests the waters by perhaps asking for a gift or perhaps asking for a small amount of money. And then they might, if they give a small amount of money, then they increase the amount of money until the victim either works out that they've been scammed or has no money left, or that the police turn up to their door and tell them that they've actually been scammed.
Wow, so this, I'm only familiar with, I guess, they call it the 519 scam, and this would be sort of, I'm a prince from some country and I have all this money to give you, and that's a sort of an earlier version of, if you give me money, I'll give you some in return.
Yep.
In this case, it's not really an economic transaction, though, is it?
Yeah, and that's interesting. It's the 419 scam, actually. It's just a number that they're given in Nigeria for that crime, so that's how it's been called that way. And exactly, so it's a similar kind of thing, but what happens here is that the loss for the victim is not just the loss of money, and there's been large amounts of money lost. I think the highest amount in the UK has been like about £800,000, so they mortgage their houses and everything. So it's a massive financial loss for some individuals, but for all individuals it's a big psychological impact on them, because there's an emotional loss too, because they get very close to this relationship, discover it's not real, and they're completely distraught over it. We've defined people in our study as victims even when they don't lose money, because a lot of those individuals are upset just as much as individuals who have lost money.
So now, in that case, I would assume that there's a sense of shame involved in being in one of these scams. Mm-hmm. Must make it hard to find people, get them talking about this. How do you go about researching this topic?
Yeah, exactly. It's an extremely underreported crime for that reason, that it's shameful, embarrassing. Also, people often don't even know that they've been scammed by it. Recently, we did a representative sample, and we found that there's probably about 200,000 victims in the UK. So there are a lot of victims out there. So how do we find them? Well, we found them through various means. One, SOCA, the Serious Organised Crime Agency, it helped us be introduced to victims. Another way is we got an online dating company to help our research, and we emailed people from the site that had used it in the past or currently using it to see, looking at people who are online daters as well as those who are victims. We also went onto a victim support site as well. So we found, we got a nice big sample of victims to be able to look at in our research.
So obviously, to help protect this awareness. Awareness is really important. But what else is there other than letting people know that someone on an online dating site might scam you?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good question, because awareness might indeed be a preventative measure, and that's what the serious organised crime are hoping, that if more people know about, that might reduce the crime. But one of the problems is that when I interviewed people, they were saying that there was at least one person that had said to them, "I think you're being scammed," and they ignored it completely. So when it comes to awareness, it has to be a message that individuals buy into and identify with. At the moment, they may be thinking it's only a certain type of person. Our research has found that all age groups are hit. If there is a gender difference, there's a slight one towards men being more likely to be scammed than women. It's certainly not middle-aged, and that's what we were thinking about before we did the study. We thought it might be middle-aged women, but it's not. It's all age groups. So it has to be messages out there that people can identify with. Online dating companies need to also kind of put their messages on their site so that people become more aware that it is a problem. It's also becoming a problem on social networking sites now. It will probably increasingly be so for the time being until something's done there also. How else do we prevent it? Well, we thought that by looking at the typology of their personality that online dating companies could actually screen out victims and alert them more to it. We didn't find a lot of differences between online daters versus those who've been scammed. The only difference we found were people who are high on romantic beliefs were more likely to be. The other thing we can do, though, is we want to work with computing science people to be able to look at the kind of language and communication that's been happening, and to be able to develop programs of when it looks like a type of language that's happening between a victim and the criminal, that can be brought out of the system and alerted to that person quite quickly also.
Great. Well, that's really important, and thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.